Welcome back to another episode of Projecting Grandeur. I'm your host, Ron Dichter. I want to talk today about perfect being the enemy of good. There have been a lot of different trainings on the whole concept that perfect is the enemy of good, and that in order for you to be successful, you have to sacrifice what you might think needs to be perfect, whether it is in your product, whether it is in your process, whether it is in your sales model, and you can't focus on perfecting something. You just need to focus on something being good enough to go to the market. And while I don't disagree with this concept at all, I do think that something gets lost in translation, and it's worth talking about today. So when I think of the concept of perfect being the enemy of good, I think of it as getting out of the gate, not getting to the finish line. And what I mean by that is, whether you have a product that you're taking to market, or a new distribution model or a process, whatever it is you're doing, there's going to be a point in time where you feel like it's good enough to actually go to market with, or it's good enough to put into action. But there's probably some people in the room and some stakeholders that have ownership around said product or process that might say, we just need to do this one thing. We need to perfect this one little thing, to make it right. And you suppress the usage or the go-to-market of this thing because you want to make sure that it is perfect before you actually go to market. And I think the concept around this is lost because you don't have to look at whatever it is you're doing as the final thing. You can go to market with something that's good enough and then over time enhance and improve and perfect it at that moment. But what's funny about perfect is perfect only makes sense at the time and snapshot of time that you're looking at. And what I mean by that is, what might feel like perfect today won't be perfect a year, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years from now. And so you have to think about, what is perfect enough for me to be able to go to market with, knowing that tomorrow I can make it better than it is today. Or tomorrow I can improve upon what it is today and make it better. But again, a lot of people get lost in this concept of perfect being the enemy of good, thinking that, we can just cut corners, put something to market that's good enough, and then we're done. But that isn't how it works. You're not ever finished. If you run a company and you want to be able to evolve over time, you have to realize that perfect is nothing more than a snapshot of what today looks like for your product, your process, or your distribution model or anything else. And so you have to think about things in perspective of the long term, that perfect is only as good as it is today. Just like if you are a elite athlete and you are performing at your peak is funny, it's a different topic, we'll cover that another day, but you're at your peak. Basically what that's saying is that there's nothing that you can do to become better than where you are right now. Now obviously in this example, age does play a factor into it, but let's just rule out age and let's just talk about becoming as good as you can possibly be. Is there a point of where you can't make it better? I don't know. I think the concept of perfect being the enemy of good, has some validation in it, but at the same time, to think that it can't be improved upon over time is not the right way to think about it. And many people out there are probably saying, if you over tinker, then you can actually make it worse. And they're right. But again, all we're looking at is a snapshot in time of what perfect looks like today, and making sure that we feel like we've got something as good as we can do today. That means with the hours that we dedicated to it, with the resources that we dedicated to it, is this thing, this product, this service, this offering, this model, whatever it is it as good as it can be given the allocation of resources and time that we have dedicated to it? And if the answer is yes, then go. As long as it's a functioning thing, process, product, or process, put it into action. And then don't just leave it there. Enhance it. Work on it. Make it better. There was an old infomercial of the past, that they would put food into this little cooking device and they would say, set it and forget it. Meaning you put the food in, you set the timer, and you forget about it. Well, that doesn't work in business. You can't set it and forget it, because that would assume that perfect is perfect forever. but perfect is not forever. Times change. There was a point in time where I'm sure the carriage pulled by a horse was as perfect as it could possibly be, right up until somebody invented a car. And then you didn't need the horse. And so, again, perfect is only relevant to the time in which you're looking at it. And so the two things that I would want to leave everybody with today is, number one is, don't overthink this. Get things as good as they can be in the time and in the resource allocation that you've put forth towards it. And as long as you can get something that functions and works, put it into market. You can always make it better over time. But if you don't put it into action, you're never going to have an opportunity to see if the thing works, or to test, your theory or your hypothesis of why you're doing the thing in the first place. The second thing that I want to leave you with is that perfect, again, the whole concept today is perfect being the enemy of good. Perfect is only a relevant topic if you look at things in a snapshot of time. And so, as you think about kind of the longevity of what you're doing, perfect is only relevant today, because tomorrow it can be perfecter. I know it's not a word. Or then, a week from now it can be even more perfect. So don't overthink things. Don't let perfect become the enemy of good mean that you just put crap out into the market. It just means it's the best that you can do with what you gave it, and you can always make it better tomorrow. So don't just set it and forget it. Focus on it and make it better. Hope you find this helpful. Hope you remember to share this with your friends, because the message can't get shared if you don't share it. We don't do any advertising, we don't do any marketing, and there's nothing that I can sell you. So I'm just doing this because I care and because I want to put good stuff out there to hopefully help one person become better than they were the day before. A little more perfecter, as they say. Anyway, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later.